Hello and yes, welcome back to another video, guys. That's right, we've made it. It's 2023. Hello and welcome to the first one of these videos for 2023. This video here, I go over all the movies I watched for the first time throughout the month, which we've just left. So January 2023, yeah. So I don't do rewatches here, and I don't do TV shows or games or anything else that you could possibly think of. This is all about first time watches for me, movies. And I've got to say, even though I had a holiday in January, I watched a lot of movies still. Normally when there's a holiday, I don't end up watching as much as I normally do. But yeah, I've still watched a good 30 films here. There's a lot to go over. So I'm going to crack on with this real quick. And yeah, there's some new releases in here as well. So if there's some movies and you don't follow me on Letterboxd and you don't know my opinions on them, hey, you're about to get them. You're about to goddamn get them. Anyway, I'm going to shift over here so we can have the lovely movie posters come up as we talk about each movie so you know which one I'm talking about. And let's get started. The first film up, the first film I watched of 2023 for the first time was Get Carter. I got this beautiful BFI set for this for Christmas off my parents. Yeah, it was my parents who got me it. You know, I don't want to sound ungrateful. It was just a while ago. Now, you know, we're already 8 days into February, I think. So, is it the 8th today? I think so. Anyway, I'm off track already. Starring Michael Caine. I love old Michael Caine films. The original Italian Job is one of my favourite films ever. And yeah, I had a great time with this. The story, the premise to it was really cool. The action sequences, the few there were really good. The actual mystery to this movie was great. And I thought Michael Caine himself was fantastic, and that final act was so much fun. So yeah, I'm gonna give this film, I'm gonna give it a 7.5 out of 10. I think it's one that will go up for me, but it's gonna require a couple rewatches, I think, which I do very much intend to do. Next up, we have Psycho 2. I'm trying to go through all my Arrow video films, and literally I only have about 3 left now. And Psycho 2 was one which I just never got round to watching because the original Alfred Hitchcock Psycho is one of the greatest movies ever made, and it's just so hard to imagine a sequel to it, to be honest. But so many people told me it's good, which is why I picked it up originally. And I got to admit, while it doesn't come close to the original movie in terms of quality, this was an entertaining film. It was actually okay. I liked the direction they went in it. Will Norman Bates return to his psycho self or his psycho mum or whatever, you know, it is what he does. And I thought it was really, really cool. And the build up to get there was interesting. His relationship with the girl in it, I thought was a bit forced at the start, but I really liked the way they developed it. The kills were really fun, I gotta say. And it had quite a satisfying ending, I gotta say. I really liked how the film ended. And I don't know if there is a Psycho 3. There probably is. But I'm very curious to watch it now. To see where this story goes from here. This was a lot better than I expected. But still, you know, cheesy 80s film. I give it a 6.5 out of 10. Then we have Tangerine. Sean Baker, I think, is the name of the director. I could be wrong. I'm doing that off the top of my head. I loved The Florida Project. It's one of my favourite movies from 2017. And I really like Red Rocket from last year. So Tangerine got this beautiful box set release on Blu-ray, and I got that for Christmas as well, also off my parents. And yeah, I was curious to watch it. It was all filmed, the whole movie's filmed on an iPhone 5. And it is typical Sean Baker, where you are dealing with these really, really horrible people, to be honest. They're really kind of trashy, the way they talk, the way they treat people, just the way they act in public. It's really, if you don't like these kind of people, and this goes for all of the films that I've mentioned, Florida Project and Red Rocket, you're not going to get on with his films. But I find it fascinating to watch them and the way he captures them and puts them to film. And that's one of the things I really liked about this movie, is how well he captured, again, these people. And you're not meant to like them, but it's interesting watching them, how they go about their day-to-day business. There are some laugh-out-loud moments because of some of the stuff they're saying. It is ridiculous. So it's a weird movie. I can completely see why people would hate this film, but I had quite a good time with it. It's definitely the weakest of the 3 films I've seen from him so far. But I say, I still think it's a decent film. I'll give it a 6.5 out of 10. It was a higher score when I originally watched it. Then we have The Great Yokai War, which is the remake of the Yokai Monsters films. I watched the original 3 in December in my Arrow video set, and this is the remake. And I'm going to be honest, I know this film is aimed for kids, but this is literally one of the worst films I've ever seen in my entire life. It was so bad. The story was just, it was just painful. Like, my brain was aching. You go from this kid to him just interacting with monsters like the originals, and then there's a robot war, and then he's getting dragged through a sewer where there's this giant boulder thing, and then, you know, I got so confused what was going on. Don't know whether it's his brother or dad, I can't remember. He's in love with this other girl, and then it is a mess of a movie. On top of that, the effects are garbage. I know that this is the kind of thing to expect with these type of movies, but it looks awful. The soundtrack was terrible. The action was embarrassing. I don't care what age range this film is aimed for. This film was truly terrible. I hated it. I'm going to give it a 1.5 out of 10. I thought it was so bad. Then we have Firefox. As always, making my way through my Clint Eastwood box set. I love the man. I think he's absolutely brilliant in front of and behind the camera. But here we have his weakest film so far. I was just really uninterested in this film. And again, I found the structure of the plot quite messy. And the film was just too long. And poor old Clint, he really didn't feel like he wanted to be in this one much. So, yeah, I really don't have much more to say on that one. I'll give it a 4 out of 10. Then we have Aloha. Now, look, some of these films that I watch, like this, and there'll probably be another couple, and I've watched a couple over the last couple of days in February, where it's like, James, why did you watch that? I have moments at work where I'm just sitting there on the computer, or just you know, I work with print, as people know. I'm just cutting some small bits. So it's very easy for me to put my phone on, just have something on in the background. So I only have streaming services available, and I don't really want to put a great movie on, or a film that I think is going to be decent, you know, pretty good, because I'm going to want to concentrate. So films like Aloha go on. And I put this on purely because I'm in love with Emma Stone. I think she's absolutely fantastic. And, you know, there's a bunch of other really good actors in here. Bill Murray, one of my favourite actors ever, is in this. Bradley Cooper, of course, starring. Rachel McAdams, who I also love. But yeah, it's got a fantastic cast, this. John Krasinski. More names keep coming back to me. It has an incredible cast, but unfortunately the movie doesn't really want to do anything with any of them. It's a very meh film. I don't think it's as bad as some people make out. When I watched it, I looked at the Letterboxd stuff and people giving it half a star. I really don't think it's that bad. It does have a very innocent presence to it when it's really just dealing with the love stuff, the romantic stuff, and then it goes into the more, you know, hey, we're going to put this satellite up in the air, blah, blah, blah. And that's where the film really lost it for me. It's just like, it was too much mixing with a very simple love story, this kind of love triangle that was created. And I really should have just focused on that. But yeah, the film was okay. I'll give it a 5.5 out of 10. Then we got Planes, Trains and Automobiles. Yeah, every month I tend to sneak 1 or 2 classics in. Which I just haven't got around to seeing. For some reason, I just haven't got around to seeing this. I love John Candy. I can't think of his name. The other guy in it. Steve Martin. I absolutely love those two. They're both fantastic actors. I watched so many films with John Candy and growing up. So yeah, this was a pure joy to watch. Just the dialogue between them, the back and forths they'd have, I thought was great. The cinematography as well, just that warm, Christmassy kind of feeling. It was really nice, especially this was very early January still. Yeah, it's just a really innocent, really humble, good movie. Some of the music choices were a bit odd though, I thought. The score didn't quite hit with me, but everything else about this film I really loved. Very sweet ending as well. I'm going to give this film an 8 out of 10. Then we have Crimes of Passion. Crimes of Passion. I can't even remember what movie that was off the top of my head, so that goes to show a lot about it. Okay, Crimes of Passion. I've looked it up and now I remember which one it is. It's another one in my Arrow video range, and actually this one wasn't that bad. I guess I just forgot it because I've watched so many movies over the last month. But yeah, this film actually wasn't too bad. As I say, it's got that very 80s vibe to it. It's a Very interesting movie. I had no idea what it was about going into it. It's just a film that was in my Arrow video collection. I was like, I better watch that. And it's an interesting story. I think, again, you've got this kind of, I want to say, love triangle thing. You've got a guy who's not really getting along sexually or just in general with his wife much. So he goes to this prostitute and he starts to actually fall in love with her. And it's an interesting story, but I don't think the balancing between who he's with is great. You sort of spend so much time with the wife, and you'll spend loads of time with the prostitute woman he's fallen in love with, and you sort of forget about the wife, and then you'll randomly come back to her, and then you forget about the other woman, then you randomly go back to her. And I think like that the film is a bit choppy, but it was a good movie. There was a lot of interesting stuff in it. There's kind of like this villain in it, this nutcase guy. I thought he was a bit too much. I could have done without him in the movie. But yeah, it was actually not too bad. I'll give it a 6.5 out of 10. Then we have Dawn of the Dead, another classic here, the George A. Romero film. I picked up the lovely box set thanks to my good friend Mr. Anthony Fisher. He sent me a lovely gift card for Christmas, and I used that to pick up this set. And yeah, wow, I loved this movie. I've actually seen the remake from Zack Snyder, and I'm not a big fan on it. This was so much better. I think I just enjoyed the characters more. It wasn't just as in your face. There was a lot more, okay, our characters are in a location and it's not super intense. The characters are given a bit more room to breathe in this version and they're able to do a bit more, which I appreciated. And I loved this film so much. The next night I went and rewatched Night of the Living Dead and loved that as well. But yeah, this film's fantastic and the ending's pretty cool as well. Some really awesome kills in this as well. I'm going to give this an 8.5. I really enjoyed this. I think it's my good friend Scott's favourite movie as well, if you're watching Scott. Where am I at? Dawn of the Dead. Well, then we have Battle of the Sexes. Now, I put this film on. It's on Disney+. Again, Emma Stone's in it. And, you know, again, you've got some other great cast members in here. You know, Steve Carell, who I love the US Office. Great to see him. And I really didn't think I was going to enjoy this movie much, but I got so into it. I thought the plot was just, I know it's based on a true story, but it's absolutely incredible seeing this journey that Emma Stone's character has to go on. You know, I had no idea about this story in real life, and it was interesting just seeing, you know, this really washed up, sexist tennis player just going for it in the press and the media, and seeing Emma Stone's character try and build herself up to beat him. And it made me hate men, this film. And it annoys me that there are still some men today that think like Steve Carell's character did in this movie. But I thought it was a very entertaining movie, very interesting film. And a lot of great choices in terms of like the cinematography. It had this kind of 70s grain effect, which I really liked on the movie. So yeah, I'm going to give it a really good score. I'm going to give it an 8. Really surprised me. Okay, then we have Instant Family. Another one of those I just sort of chucked on in the background. It was okay. I find Mark Wahlberg really funny. He was the best thing about this. You know, the kids and stuff, they all start off annoying, and then the film does do a good job at making you come to like them, like the parents sort of do, I guess. But yeah, you know, don't have loads to say on this one. It is what it is. It was fine. Give it a 6.5 out of 10. Couple nice heartwarming moments in it. Have a Good Funeral. My friend Sartana Will Pay. Yes, so this is the second to last Sartana film, which I thoroughly enjoyed, to be honest, because I really liked the first two Sartana films. The third one, was a bit meh. This felt like a return to form. It felt very much like we'd gotten a lot of the real heavy cheesy stuff out of the way in the third one. Still some cheese in here, but it was an entertaining enough film with a serious tone and an interesting plot. I love westerns. It's probably one of my favourite movie genres right now, and it was just such a fun film to watch. A lot of great action sequences, a lot of over-the-top characters. Yeah, 6.5 out of 10. The Man Who Knew Too Little is next. I just randomly stumbled across this Bill Murray film, which I'd never heard of, and it was really, really fun seeing Bill Murray think he's a part of this real life theatre production, but he's actually got involved in a real kind of crime that's happening, and he's being chased around the streets of London. And you know, Bill Murray is just so perfect for this role. He's one of my very favourite comedic actors, and he just every line delivery he has just kills me. This is a great film, great example of that he is just hilarious. Like, every line he hits just absolutely has me rolling stitches. The film does drag it out all the way to the end, that thing that he's completely oblivious. Would have been nice for him to sort of realise stuff at the end. But overall, it was a good movie. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Then, okay, we have Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. This film only came out 5 days ago here in the UK. It came out like November in America. And I searched on my Cineworld app, when is Puss in Boots coming out in the UK? Nothing come up. I assumed it had already come out in the UK and I'd missed it. And I was seeing clips pop up on YouTube and TikTok and blah, 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 blah. I was like, screw it, I'm just going to watch this film online because I've missed it. I'm going to have it all spoiled soon. So I went online and watched it. Then about a week later, all of a sudden, you could book this movie. And I was like, oh my God. Now, I'm going to say this. I'm going to go see it in cinema again next week, okay? I am going to go see this film because I want to support it. And it was a great movie. So, yeah, I've held my hands up there. I messed up on this one, but I will go see it in cinema and correct myself. Anyway, either way, this was a bloody great movie. This is my third favourite in the Shrek universe now. The first two Shrek films are just so classic and iconic, and I grew up with them. But this is now my next favourite. This film was so good. First off, the animation change is brilliant. This looks so good. It's the best looking film in this Shrek universe. And I'm hoping that if they do a Shrek 5, it goes with this animation style. The story itself is so interesting. You've got a few different villains in it. The main villain, Death, is creepy as hell, and I love him. This film pushes its boundaries by having Puss actually get wounded and stuff, and taking him on a much more emotional journey, and one which will impact him more as a character than the previous Puss in Boots film. But at the end of the day, this film looks great. It's so entertaining, and you can tell that a lot of care and passion has gone into this one. And there's a couple little nods and winks to Shrek, which got me excited. I'm really hoping we get a Shrek 5 or a Puss in Boots 3 at this point. I need more films in this little universe because Shrek's awesome. I'm going to give this film a 8.5 out of 10. It's so bloody good, which is shocking. Then we have Lady Bird, a film which I've really been meaning to watch. I love the lead actress. The director, of course, is about to do the Barbie film, which I'm quite looking forward to. And yeah, I've just been meaning to watch this. And while I really enjoyed it, it was a really nice coming-of-age story. There was some really heartwarming moments and also some quite humorous moments, I found. And a lot of great side characters and great actors throughout this movie. It disappointed me a bit. I think because I'd had it built up for so long now that this is one of the best films from the last 5+ years. I was really expecting a bit more than what I got, but I still had a very good time with it. There's a lot of entertaining moments in it, and it's a very well made movie. I'm going to give this film 7.5 out of 10. And we got Godzilla, the King of the Monsters, 1956. Yeah, I discovered in my Criterion Godzilla box set that there's an American version of the original Godzilla film, and what they've done is they basically edited about 30% of the movie out and made it Americanized. And yeah, the other 70% is just still the original Godzilla film. I'm going to judge this version purely on how well the Americans edited it all together and changed it. And I'm going to tell you now, they butchered a lot of it. They add in this new character which feels so out of place, to be honest. And you can just so blatantly tell when he's being shoved in scenes. It felt a lot more boring than the original, and the original isn't boring at all. The original is so good at building suspense to get to Godzilla, and this one, it just feels like a drag to get there. This is such a poor edit and choice with this movie. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 10. I think I was kinder in my review on Letterboxd, but the more I thought about this one, the more I dislike it. Then we have Sudden Impact. This Clint film was okay. Again, it very much felt like, you know, just one of his standard action films. I liked his character. But a lot of the action felt a bit flat at times. Yeah. Yeah, I don't have a lot to say about this one. Struggling here. It was entertaining. I'll give it a 6. Groundhog Day. I've never seen Groundhog Day. And, you know, after I watched The Man Who Knew Too Little, I was going through my Bill Murray films, because I've seen like 35 of his films, and I was like, one of the ones I haven't seen is Groundhog Day. I feel like I need to watch this. So I did, and I had such a good time with it. You know, I don't know what I can say about this film that hasn't already been said. I'm a bit of a sucker for time loop films, but this one just does so much right. His character is great. I love the fact that certain times when he revisits different days, things don't always happen the way they did before, because he might do something a teeny bit different. I really liked how that played out. And yeah, there was just some really nice heartwarming moments, how it showed him becoming a better person. I'm still not 100% sure how he got out the Groundhog Day, but yeah, it was a great movie. 8.5 out of 10. Rebirth of Mothra. Yeah, I need to watch these movies. There's 3 of them. I still have yet to watch 2 and 3. But the Mothra is a trilogy in the late 90s here. And I'm going to be honest, this one here wasn't great. Didn't like any of the human characters. Big shocker. Mothra looked okay, but we spent so much time with the centipede, millipede, Mothras, whatever they're called. Just give me the bloody moth. So many of these kaiju movies that have Mothra in spend so much time with her as the centipede thing, and it's like, no, just give me Mothra. Ghidorah's in this, which shocked me. Ghidorah looks amazing. And their fights are okay, but Ghidorah should really wipe the floor with Mothra. There shouldn't be much of a fight here. Yeah, there was some kind of cringe moments as well. It was okay. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Then we got Tightrope. I'm pretty sure this is a Klimt film. Again, I'm going to have to look at this one. So yeah, this Klimt film was one which I didn't particularly care for much. I found this one really dull, really boring. I didn't really like his character much. You can tell here that Klimt had a little bit of a bump in his career. But I've looked at his Letterboxd page, and it looks like they're going to go up a bit after this little bump here. But yeah, it just felt very flat, a very dark movie as well, and just very uninteresting. Yeah, just really couldn't get behind this one. I'm going to give it a. I'll go 5 out of 10. Okay, Light the Fuse, Sultana is here. This is the last Sultana film, and they went back to the same actor from the 3rd film, I believe, and they went back to pure cheese fest, and I was very disappointed with this one. I thought it was just going to be the 3rd one that was a bit meh, but they really sunk back down here. Again, the plot just wasn't super interesting. The lead guy just isn't as good as the guy who's in the first 2 and the 4th one. And yeah, the plot itself just wasn't very interesting, and I couldn't. The villains again, nah. It was all just very nah. I'll give it a 4.5 out of 10. Then we got The Old Way. This is Nicolas Cage's new film, another Western, and this film starts really well, really interesting. I was really set up to connect with Nicolas Cage, trying to bond with this girl that he meets. And the ending's kind of fun, but it feels like you just jump from the start to the end. It feels like there's no middle act to this movie. Like, nothing happens in the middle. It's like, we got to go do this, get here, and then I'll give you to blah, blah, blah. And then literally 5 minutes later, they're there and they're doing all that. And it's like, I feel like there should have been something in the middle, like maybe a little side quest, maybe a little shootout. Because at the minute, this film just feels like you got A and you got B. And that's it. It feels very incomplete, I think, is a good way to describe it. But Nicolas Cage himself, he's okay in it. I've seen much worse performance from him. I've seen better. But the set designs were nice, you know, good looking Western and whatnot. So yeah, I'll give it a 4.5. It weren't great. It weren't very good, but it weren't terrible or anything. Then we got. I was really struggling to find films at work this day. I watched a film called Doggone. Guess what it's about? Hang on. Just really think about it. Think hard. What do you think this film's about? The dog goes missing. Did you get it? Rob Lowe's in this. I was like, Rob Lowe's in it. How bad can it be? I love dogs. I was like, it's about a Labrador. I have a Labrador in real life, so it's like, yeah, let's freaking watch this. And it has one of the worst scripts I've ever seen. The most unbelievable characters, like the son, the things he's saying and stuff. It's just laughable. And there's this huge moment at the end where it's like, oh my god, someone, I don't want to spoil it in case anyone's actually interested in watching this film, and they're like, he could have died, this person could have died, and there's a whole backstory with the mum so that you're meant to care about her, but you don't because it's a shitty backstory, and it feels so forced in. This is a really bad movie. I'm going to give it a 2 out of 10. It was really bad. It was better than the Yokai Monster remake, but it's not far off. Then we got The Elephant Man. Yeah, David Lynch. I'd never watched this movie, and you know, me and David Lynch, we don't have the best. I watched Eraserhead, and I liked Eraserhead, but it was a bit pretentious for me. I know there's going to be some people like, it's not pretentious, but for me it was. And then, even though I did like it. Then I watched his Dune, which I didn't like much. So, yeah, I was worried about watching this. But, you know, Anthony Hopkins, John Hurt, 2 incredible actors. And I've got to say, I loved this movie. Like, loved it. I think my good friend Paul Brooks sent me this one. Another one of his, which has taken me ages to watch. But, man, I absolutely adored this film. I thought it was so good. That every scene involving the Elephant Man, John Hurt, was just brilliant. The build-up to actually seeing him become more civilized, I guess. Because at the start, he's just very scared of everything. Rightfully so in the characters, you know, when you're looking at the character, and seeing him become Anthony Hopkins and a few other characters make him a better person, but at the same time you've got arseholes in the movie who are pulling him back down. It's a fascinating film to watch, and I love the black and white. I don't think it would work well in colour at all. I think the black and white is perfect for this film. Just the overall look of the film is brilliant. Some of the music choices is great. The acting from both cast members is just outstanding. I loved it. Really loved it. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. Then we have The Age of Innocence. There's a few Martin Scorsese films I have yet to watch. And The Age of Innocence, this is, you know, his period piece kind of love triangle movie. Period piece is not really my favourite. Love triangle films, also not my favourite. But, yeah, I thought it was good. It was a good movie. Like, I can appreciate stuff about it, like the costumes and stuff, and the sets, all beautiful, and the script was really quite good. But it was too long, and there were some really slow moments that I just couldn't get into, and I was, you know, looking at the time. But there's a lot of good stuff with this movie. There's a lot of fun to be had with elements of it. And it's Scorsese. There's a certain style that he brings to film, which is just incredibly classy. So yeah, it's a good film, but it didn't blow me away really. I'll be a bit kind, I think. I'm gonna go for a 7. Then we got Suspiria, which is in my movie range up here. I really wanted to get a hold of this one because there were a few actors in this I quite liked. You know, Tilda Swinton's always fantastic. And Dakota Johnson's someone who I've really come to appreciate a lot as well. This was a weird movie. Like, weird. But weird in a good way. I really enjoyed it. First off, I loved the score to this. That every time the music would start building and you knew it was building towards something big or something creepy, it was just really kind of fun to let it build you up, and it was like, oh my god, something's gonna happen. I thought the actual choreography of the dancing was great. The way it tied in with some of the weird stuff that was happening in another room or something was creepy as hell, but I really liked it. It was filmed really well, and the actual plot itself was just, I couldn't get my head around it. And then when things started to make sense and the weird devil part happened, it's weird, but I was fully engaged. I was like, what the fuck, this is mental. But I thought everyone put in a good performance, and it was a good film, I thought, in the end. I'll give it 7.5. 7.5. I'll go for the half. Then we got Megan. Oh, God. I went to see this at the cinema, and this was my first cinema screening of 2023, and it was dog shit. I cried with laughter throughout a lot of Megan. I thought it was so funny. There were just so many moments in it that would just laugh out loud. I wasn't scared once. The build-up to get to Megan was terrible. The characters didn't feel real. Like, the daughter was so annoying, and then the aunt was also... She didn't seem like a real character. Her sister dies right at the start of the movie, and she just doesn't give a shit. Not once does she mention... I think she mentions once, like, oh, I miss her too. That's it. Like, nothing. They don't feel like real characters. The film itself was just so bland. Like, it's one of these typical modern horrors that just tries to get people in by showing jump scares in the trailer. Megan herself, my God, there's a moment where, like, she sings Bulletproof or something, and it is so cringe. It's like the modern Chucky, if Chucky was shit. Yeah, I'll give this film a 4 out of 10. Yeah, it wasn't very good. We have Donnie Brasco, you know, Al Pacino, Johnny Depp. I've been meaning to watch this for a while. It's like a Mob Boss one. And it was really cool to see their relationship, even though you know the whole time that Johnny Depp is this undercover cop. And it was fascinating to watch from start to finish. And I think there were some really great moments in it, some really tension moments where I was like, oh my God, what is going to happen? And the ending to the movie, it's a bit sudden for me, but I really, really got behind it and had a good time with this film. I'm going to give Donnie Brasco I'm going to go 7.5. The King of Comedy. This is a film I've had in my collection for ages. Martin Scorsese, starring Robert De Niro, and was heavily influenced, pardon me, sorry, the movie Joker, as a lot of people know. I'm going to say influenced, but also feel like the Joker just flat out ripped it off in a lot of ways. This was better than Joker. If you liked Joker, go watch this. Yeah, I love De Niro's character and the kind of mental, comedic woman who's with him as well. I think they bounced off each other really well, and they both had some really good moments. De Niro honestly gives one of his best performances here. He's so... Whenever he works with Scorsese, he's just always so good. And the plot itself, especially the final act, was so good. So entertaining to watch. I actually really love this film. I think it's one of Scorsese's best. And I'd probably put it above a couple of his classics, and I'd get into trouble for that. But I really connected with this movie, really had a good time with it. I'm going to give it a 8.5 out of 10. Then we have Babylon, Damien Chazelle's new film. I went to the cinema to see this. When I first saw it in the cinema, I really liked it. And I saw it again because I really wanted to see it again. And I've sort of fallen in love with this film a bit. Damien Chazelle is one of my favourite directors ever. Whiplash is just one of my favourite films ever as well. We're going to talk about First Man in a minute because I watched that for the first time after this because I hadn't seen it. La La Land is incredible. I've already watched it twice this year. I love it. This film is so good. The energetic style this film has is great. The colour palette to it. The over-the-top wacky characters. And the lovely, beautiful tribute it has to cinema at the end is just fantastic. And there are just some incredible moments. Like there's a bit where they're trying to get this shot for a film, and there's two different film sets going on at the same time. It's incredible. There's a moment where a jazz guy is forced to put charcoal on him just to change the colour of his skin, and it's also just an intense scene to watch. You've got the Tobey Maguire stuff, which was crazy and mental. I know that some people aren't the biggest fan on this movie, but I had such a blast with it. I loved it. I thought every note it was trying to hit, it really hit well. And just great performances all round from all the actors. I'm going to give this film a 9 out of 10. Then we have First Man, which was the only Damien Chazelle film I hadn't seen, so I was like, I better watch that. And I really like this film, you know. It's the weakest of his 4 films, I think. But, you know, first off, the effects and the cinematography is gorgeous. And Ryan Gosling's performance as Neil Armstrong is also fantastic. And I love the space stuff. I like seeing a realistic space film every now and then. I don't need, you know, sound effects as we're flying through space and like beep, 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 beep. You know, I actually like seeing these kind of, I know a lot of people call them boring, but I quite like films like this and Ad Astra every now and then. I know Ad Astra is like a chase on the moon and everything, but when they're in a cockpit and stuff, it is quite slow. I like that. I appreciate seeing those kind of space films every now and then. But yeah, the film takes a long while to get there, and there's a lot of slow moments in this film. But I want to say that the actress in it, the woman from The Crown, I can't think of her name. But she gives a great performance as well in this. So yeah, I want to give her a shout. I'll give this film a 8 out of 10. Then we have Argentina 1985. I'm trying to watch every film going up for Best International Film at the Oscars, and this is one of them. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Till One Courtroom films. It's actually probably one of my weakest things to watch. But this was very fascinating. I know it's based on a true story, but there's a bit where you know, there's sort of like a whole group of characters. There's a few younger ones there, and they get together and they're all going to set out to go on their own separate jobs and stuff. I feel like there was a better film there almost, but yeah, this was a good film. I enjoyed it enough. There's a lot of cool characters. I feel a bit bad saying that about true story things, but you know, the actors are all doing good jobs. The two leads were fantastic, and the ending itself, the last act was really good. The film really had my full attention there. I'll give this film a 7.5 out of 10. So far, it wouldn't be my pick for Best International Film, but we'll see what happens. And the last film I watched was Silence, another Martin Scorsese film. You know, Andrew Lincoln. No, not Andrew Lincoln. Where am I getting that from? Andrew Garfield, Adam Driver, and Liam Neeson. Wow, what a cast. 3 incredible actors there. Andrew Garfield and Liam Neeson steal most scenes. So them two, brilliant. Adam Driver's not in it enough, but the first 2 acts of this film, incredible. Absolutely fantastic. I loved it from the sets. Some of the shots as well, like even when they're just looking over the water and you see some boats coming in. Beautiful. This is why Scorsese is one of the masters of cinema. And, you know, just seeing what these characters were having to go through. And then the final act just really got a bit meh for me. They sort of got to their destination. I just really didn't care from that point. The film just didn't do much to make me care, and it was a real shame. But, yeah, I give it a 6.5 out of 10. Maybe a 7. I'm going to stick with 6.5, but 7 on a good day. There's so much to appreciate about this film. Scorsese's brilliant, but would I rewatch it? Probably not. Anyway, final thing we've got to do is film of the month. My film of the month, guys, is going to be The Elephant Man. I so nearly said Babylon because I watched it twice this month and I'm so into those kind of films at the minute. But The Elephant Man was just groundbreaking to me. It was an incredible achievement, that film, and so unique. And I think it's going to stick with me for a long time. And I will definitely go back to it at some point. Incredible film. But anyway, guys, there we go. There's all the films I watched throughout the month of January 2023. Gotta get you saying that now. I'm already making my way through February. Like, I've already watched too many films, so next month's probably be even longer. But anyway, thank you so much for watching as always, guys. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like the video, leave a message. And as always, I'll see you next time for another video. Bye-bye.